Right, so we'll call the meeting to order of School Building Committee, January 22nd, 2024 at 7:10 p.m. As typical, it's calling the meeting to order. We'll do a roll call vote of attendance, starting with Scott. Here. Tim Lombard.
Present.
Glenn Hoffman.
Here.
Dr. Miranda.
Yes.
Here.
Sorry, I shouldn't think
nope.
that. Join the Zoom.
No, you can't. You can't. We
Okay.
just don't have a screen.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Mark Loring.
Here.
And Akbar Baum.
Present.
Sure. All right. Second thing on the agenda is citizen speak. We allot the first 15 minutes of the meeting for citizens that would like to speak as far as commentary. We ask that you keep your commentary to 3 minutes, and when you are ready, please raise your hand, and if so, state your name and address when doing so. And all right, not seeing any. I just need a minute to pull the agenda up. It was busy day getting over here for this. All right. Third thing on the agenda is the approval of past minutes. So I sent out prior to the meeting tonight our minutes from November 29th. Excuse me. That was a short meeting that we had, was basically just for approval of the architectural RFS. And then Seamus from PMA had also sent out our minutes from our past meeting on December 18th. So I just want to make sure everybody's got those, and if there's any comments on them, because they are in draft form.
No comments.
No comments. All right. And so we just need a motion to approve them.
Motion to approve minutes.
All right.
Second.
Glenn, seconded by Mark, and we'll do a roll call vote. Scott Dershak.
Yes.
Tim Lombard.
Yes.
Glenn Hoffman.
Yes.
Dr. Miranda.
And this is for the November and December together.
Correct.
So I approved November and I abstained from the 18th.
Okay. Mark.
Yes.
And Aqua.
I abstained from the November. I think I wasn't there, and approved the 18th.
Okay. And I vote in yes for both of them, so we're good. Question?
I should have abstained from November, although I thought I was there, but apparently I was not.
Yeah,
Meetings.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I looked that one over earlier for attendance, so no problem. So moving on, item 4, old business 4A, which is the discussion update, our kind of project timeline and future, which will tie into our kind of future meeting dates too, which is item 6A. Seamus, is Sean joining?
Sean is on vacation.
Okay.
He's his wife and here in Spain, I think.
Very nice.
It would be about 2 a.m. So
Yeah, so
That's fine.
he might surprise us.
Yeah.
so if we want, I put together kind of, since they kind of tie into the architect selection,
Yep.
I was gonna go through the process of the architect selection
Yeah,
and then talk about next meetings and next steps
Yep,
right
yep.
after.
that'd work.
So I threw together a quick PowerPoint slide, just kind of summarizing what we did with the selection committee
Yep.
last week.
Yep.
I'll throw it up on the screen now.
Yeah, if you just share your screen.
It says you've disabled it.
Oh, sorry about that.
No worries.
Yep, see it.
All right, everyone can see that. All right, great. All right, so kind of big picture, on December 12th, we received all of the submissions for the designer RFS. In total, we got 3 designer submissions, one from Arrow Street, one from Meander Studio, and then one from Raymond Design.
Just one update, December 12th or January 12th?
January 12th. Yeah, sorry. Afterwards, we shared the proposals with the designer selection committee, and we put together a quick kind of matrix that we for use while everyone on the committee or subgroup reviewed each submission. This is a rough draft with all the dots removed, but that's the final document that we used to review. Everyone on the group filled out their own separate sheet, and then we met to discuss them as a group, where we've shortlisted the architects. Quick overview of the architects that submitted: Arrow Street, Meander Studio, and Raymond Design. Arrow Street and Raymond Design had a fairly similar portfolio with number of active projects, size of projects that are done, type of school projects, and construction values. Meander Studio was noticeably smaller than the other 2, with no active school projects and with no past project that really fit the portfolio of this school. In terms of office location and firm size, there again, Arrow Street, a fairly larger studio with about 60 architects, or 60 staff, about 25 architects in the firm. Meander Studio, a small firm with only a handful of staff and only 1 registered architect. And then Raymond Design, kind of a medium-sized firm with 8 registered architects. After that, we really looked at kind of the core team that they had each proposed, and we were looking more or less to make sure that the team that they'd put together had worked together in the past, so it's not just a mix of odd personalities. And all of the 3 submissions really met that. It looks like most of the team had kind of worked together in the past.
Hold on 1 second.
Sorry.
And it didn't look like anyone had been hired on a year ago just for their resume.
Yep.
So in that aspect, they all met. A quick highlight, you can all see, I shared all the submissions with you guys for the packet. I just grabbed kind of a viewpoint from Arrow Street, just to kind of think their high level, 30,000 feet kind of ideas, how to fit the massing of a school onto the
So
site.
just to be clear,
Yes.
the Arrow Street image that's being proposed now is the wrong image.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
I know. It's just very conceptually,
Yeah, it's not even used on the correct site. So, I'm
Right.
just saying more for people from the public that are watching this right
Oh,
now,
yeah,
that they
yeah.
don't get the wrong idea that this is the proposal that's being pushed forward.
Oh, yeah, these are napkin back to the.
Yeah, discussion
paper.
purposes
Yeah,
only. Yep.
exactly. And then a similar layout from RDA.
Yep.
And so what we as the designer selection group did, we met before the submissions were due. Submissions were due on January 12th. We met on the 10th to finalize all of our evaluation criteria and finalize any matrices that we were going to use while we reviewed. We agreed to meet a week later on January 17th after everyone's had the weekend to review all the submissions. And so that's what we did last Wednesday on the 17th. The group met again, reviewed all 3 of the submissions, kind of talked about everyone's feelings and thoughts, and we narrowed it down to 2 firms. 2 firms that the group decided to shortlist, which were Arrow Street and Raymond Design Associates. And so what we need to do at this meeting is kind of, formalize that and then find out a date that works for the subcommittee or the subgroup and this committee to meet to interview them.
Clarification.
Yes,
This group will only be interviewing them. The subcommittee doesn't interview.
got it. Okay, that's
It's
good.
all
for me.
good.
So when we last met last Wednesday, we were throwing out times. We thought that an evening interview process might be good so that no one has to skip work or call in remotely. Hopefully we could reserve a place like this, just like you did for the OPM.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so we just wanted to discuss, what we want to expect for interview length, questions and the date tonight. And I think that's it for my, that's it for the slides.
Okay.
So if we want to talk about kind of how we want to set up the interviews.
Sure. Aqua, you get your hand raised?
Do we know why we had such a low response?
I have a couple ideas. So part of it was the ask when we advertised this was over the holiday break. So it was a lot of work that went in, through December to prepare the proposals. The other part of it is the value of what we were asking people to do was lower than what I think some of them would see for an MSBA project. And that is because, as we've said, a lot of the work that this committee's already done has kind of taken away some of that from them, as far as site selection, what type of school, a lot of that stuff is basically reduced that fee. So I think that's what might have made some of them not go into it. For example, DRA Architecture that did the schools before mentioned they were just too busy, and that's one of the other ones too. A lot of the architects right now are also busy, so that's basically some of the feedback I heard from Chris or Seamus. I'm not sure if you heard differently or similar.
I haven't heard anything back. I know Sean's been in touch with a few architects kind of off the record, but he hasn't really let me know any specifics about their conversation.
But I think the same answer is what you say is we
Yeah.
see they're busy and or the fee versus taking on a larger, bigger project versus this project.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. No problem, Aqua. Any other questions from anybody?
If I known you were taking one architect firm, I would have designed it, submitted a proposal. So good.
I know. But I think the big thing for us now is trying to figure out our next step is the interview, right? So let's figure out when so the interview range, what are you looking at, Seamus?
So the last page of the slides kind of shows a very rough schedule, where if we give people the notice today or tomorrow morning, give them 2 weeks to prepare, which I think we've talked about previously.
Yep.
That puts us on, I think, the week of the 5th, roughly, to have the interviews. So really, any day that week would kind of fit with our 2 weeks to prepare, and then whenever this committee is available.
2-5 is the Monday.
2-5 is the Monday.
Yep.
Yeah. So any of those evenings work.
So for folks, is there a better day or night? Mondays, I think last time we did the OPMs was on a Thursday night.
Any night but Wednesday is good for me. Or I can work around any night but Wednesday.
Yeah, we have school committee on Wednesday.
On Wednesdays, yep.
The Tuesday or Thursday would work.
I'll make it work.
Okay. All right, so either Tuesday or Thursday, Seamus. So what I'll do is I'll pull everybody just by email so we can kind of check your calendars and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
we'll settle it tomorrow.
Yeah, if we could just kind of, basically block off that called second week, first full week of February, just to be ready for it. I think the other thing too, and let me just go back to. That basically deals with the project timeline. We'll get it. I'll skip item 4B, which is the land swap discussion. I'll just table that and I'll come back to it during this meeting, but just because we're on the architectural art
Yeah.
stuff too. We'll go to item 5A, which is discussion possible vote for architectural services shortlist. So as Seamus was describing, there were essentially two firms that the subcommittee felt should move on as far as this. So that's essentially their recommendation to us, in which case we will need to confirm that by a vote, in which case it would go up to the select board as our recommendation. Well, I'm not sure if we have to recommend the short list, but we have to recommend the final firm. So I think at this point, it's just confirming the short list of the two firms, RDA and Arrow Street for the school. So in regards to that, are there any follow-up questions similar to what Aqua had of short turnout, stuff like that?
We'll have materials to review ahead of the interview.
Correct. Did you guys already send those yet?
Yeah, the stuff that was in your packet today
Okay.
had all their submissions, yeah.
Seamus, I had called Sean after we received the three, and I actually posed the question, is this worth putting it back on the street again?
Mhm.
And I think due to the reasons we just discussed, I don't know that,
Well, it's talking about them publicly.
I don't think we would get any more responses
I
than we
don't,
got.
yeah, I don't think so
I don't
either.
think the climate's gonna change in a month, in other words, so I think
Yes,
proceeding with how we are is the way to go.
yep.
And they
So,
are two very reputable firms, they have lots of school experience.
yeah, so the idea was, do we rebid the package, re-advertise it, and basically re-go through the process that we did to kind of come to the short list? And
Just send us back.
yeah, my take on it is the dollar value is not changing, right? Because it was set by a budget, right? And then, the scope of the project is still the same. So my guess is the architects that passed on it mainly due to the amount of work they had or not how low the fee would be for it. You wouldn't get more people out of it. So, my response to that was, I don't see any reason of doing that. If we knew there would be more respondents, there better pool, or if we didn't have qualified candidates, on there, that would be more, I'd entertain that more. But at this point, I just think we keep going with the two that
And
we
I only
have.
brought it up just to let people know
Yeah.
it was, we did discuss it.
Yep.
Otherwise, at this point.
I know Aqua has his hand raised.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you. How does the number of people or architects that respond compare to historical response that the town has had for projects of this nature?
That is beyond my time frame in this town, Aqua. I wouldn't know.
I can just say
Yeah,
Aqua from my
that
own
one.
experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been on projects that have had, 3 or 4 architects apply. And I've been on some where, there are more. I think it just depends on all the points Sean's mentioning, which is like, how attractive is the project? And, we knew going in that our price number here was not going to be the most attractive. But, for my own, I completely agree with the strategy of continuing to move forward, because I don't think we will get more qualified candidates, even if we got a couple more. We obviously can also go through the final interview process, and if somehow within that final interview process, we feel like they're wholly inadequate as it relates to the program they potentially could offer us, which I don't expect, but like that still is a possibility we could pull back then. But I don't think there's any advantage to pulling back now when these are very reputable and strong firms. And I've certainly done projects that
Just
Had
for a
worse
point of
results.
reference,
Sure.
PMA has seen a couple projects that have only received a single
Yeah.
architect solicitation, and they chose not to go back out themselves as well. So typically we'll see 2 to 4. And we've actually seen a couple recent single submissions. So it's kind of a funny market, just for reference.
That answer your question, Aqua?
Thank you. Yes, it does.
No problem. So unless there's any other discussion, I think the only thing we need to do after this is, basically move the shortlist just to a vote so that we can proceed with the interviews.
make a motion to move the short list to a vote.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Any further discussion?
just thanks to everybody who was on the selection committee and reviewed these.
All right, so with that, we'll by roll call vote, Scott Tereschak,
Yes.
Tim Lombard,
Yes.
Glenn Hoffman,
Yes.
Dr. Miranda,
Yes.
Mark Loring,
Yes.
Akwa Bong,
Yes.
John O'Rourke, yes. All right. Item 5B, which was the designer selection interview date, I think we already covered that. It would, occur someday the first full week of February, so the 5th to the 9th, I think it was. So we're good on that one. And then item 5C, this is more of just a general discussion of topics, questions for the architectural designer interviews. So, at this point, I'm not sure if anybody has any questions, any type of questions they want to frame to the architects. For example, I think RDA, when you see their proposal, they have a quote unquote model school that they implemented on there. So looking at their timeline and stuff like that, it's, I think, faster from what they were looking there. But, as we're heading into these interviews again, I think PMA, Sean had sent out to the subcommittee before some kind of general questions that will get you thinking. So that way, when we do the interviews, we can come prepared with individual questions and stuff.
Janice, they have this.
Yes,
Correct. So-
Sean sent that out on
Yep.
Friday.
Yep.
So I believe, I think Sean's intention was when we officially invite them by email, maybe sometime tomorrow, once we set up an actual date, we'll send out an email officially inviting the two firms. And we'll include this in the email, just with this list of topics, and then we'll
Okay.
include the DRA historical stuff.
Yeah, so I
For
sent,
reference.
that over today.
Yes, I saw that.
Yep.
So that, yeah, because this is when we met with the subgroup, these are kind of the topics that came up after we reviewed them all. Just high-end topics that we want to make sure that the architects are responsive to when they give a proposal. And so this will kind of help guide their thinking when they put together their presentations.
You'll have apples to apples comparison if they're working to respond to similar questions. So
Mhm.
that's good. Question I had is, we have 30 minutes for the presentation,
Yeah.
30 minutes for the Q&A. Are you comfortable with that? Is that a good balance for you?
I think that's fine. I mean, that's similar to what we did for you guys, and, it worked out well. And then,
Yeah, I'd say the first 30 minutes should include the introductions too, so we always leave a half an hour for questions. I think would be best. If we shorten up anything, I would say it'd be the presentation part.
presentation. Yeah. Yeah, and then the other one, so the kind of format for that night would be very similar to what we did for the OPMs. We'll interview the two, then deliberate after and basically make our selection, if we're comfortable at that point, on the final architect for the whole thing.
And references, how are they being handled?
I believe,
Did you? I'm sorry.
I-
I haven't been in the meetings.
If it's similar to how we conducted the OPM
Mhm.
process,
well,
we were checking.
we didn't have an
references.
OPM at the time, so I think you guys were checking references.
Yeah, as
Okay.
needed, yeah.
That's where it was going.
Yeah,
We
but
did-
in
Yep.
terms of like the timeline of when, I think that would have happened prior to
Prior
shortlisting.
to the short.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's mostly two reputable firms that we know of and have worked in this industry for years. We, past projects have been successful with both firms. Neither of the two are unknowns to us.
And no red flags that
Yeah.
we're aware of either. So we have not seen any concerns.
Sorry, but I just want to make it clear, we didn't have to check all the.
Oh, right.
references
I was
like we
just
did
speaking to
before.
the
Yep.
timeline of when that would have happened.
Okay, yeah, so it happened during the short.
Sean, am I required to make known any past relationships I've had with, I don't know, I keep calling them DRA, I know they're not DRA anymore, but I've worked with at least 3 people that are on their team.
For RDA, yeah.
So I'll make you aware of who.
Nope, so
No.
what, so basically, our committee is appointed by the moderator. you were essentially appointed by the select board, so I'm not
Correct.
sure if your conflict of interest would have to go to the select board then to the moderator, but I'll figure that
Okay.
out. Cause I have to do one with Arrow Street. I'm not anyone on that list I haven't dealt with personally, but I have a relationship with
Yeah,
that.
there's
firm.
some people that work there, it's literally people listed on the proposal.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I did one similar for PMA. So right before it, just from previous relationships, not with these guys on the project, but with my relationship with PMA.
I worked on a project with Arrow Street,
Yeah,
so not the folks on the list. but
Yeah.
definitely.
yeah. So just so we're safe on it all,
Yeah.
it's a 2-minute email. I'll find the format of that for any of those, so that way we can just file them, just so we know. And essentially what it's saying is you've worked with these people before, but you can still make an independent judgment. That doesn't influence you.
All right.
I am the references for about 3 of their projects. Arrow Street.
Notice that. Any other questions about architects or schedule?
Do we have to
Yes,
set a time for the interviews now, or can that follow up? Separately?
Well, you were gonna poll the 2-6 or 2-8 that works for you.
Yeah,
And
so
then-
2-6 to 2-8, and then probably what, I know when we did the OPMs, we started at 6 PM, mainly because we had 3 interviews and we were deliberating afterwards. That's why we started earlier. I'll leave it open to everybody else too, do we want to start at 7, interview till 9, and then make our decision after? Do we want to start at 6, interview to 8, and then make our decision after? So, throw that one out there for everyone to kind of, comment on, stuff like that, because,
This is better either way.
yeah,
Two options
exactly.
again?
So essentially, we have 2 hours of interviews.
Yeah.
So do we start at 6 or 7? And so either end at 8, end at 9, and then deliberate after. So,
Is 6:30 an option?
yeah, sure. Split the difference.
And just let me get through dinner and then
That's-
hand over to the.
No, and
to the
and I'm
spouse and
fine
then
starting,
check out.
yeah, and I'm fine starting at 7 too. I mean, whatever's easier. I mean, because basically, once I'm here and it gets by 8:30, my daughter's asleep and I'm good.
You could do 6:30 too.
That's what she said. Yeah. So, well, for me, I would say keep it at 7, just as our typical meeting times. We do the 2 hours and then,
I agree.
okay. Everybody else good with that?
Yeah,
Cool.
it's fine.
All right, 7 PM,
Awesome.
So 7 AM and 8,
7 P.
7 PM, 8 PM.
Mhm.
And then you'll let us know if it's the 6th or the 8th.
Yeah, so it's 7 to 8 for the first one, 8 to 9 for the
Yep.
next one, and then 9 after we deliberate. Yeah, because the one other one, in addition to our committee that will join and be a voting member is the superintendent.
Mhm.
Because I know, for, for something this important, we want his input on there too. So that's another one I gotta check on the dates for.
Mhm.
All right, so moving on, back to item 4B, which is the discussion update on the land swap. So after our last meeting, as many of you are aware, Senator Timmelty came in during public comment. Since that date, I've got an update that the bill has been received and filed, so the 1 second, I'll tell you which numbers it is. So the bill's been filed as S2549, and it's pending before a joint committee on municipalities and regional government. And that there's no hearing date scheduled yet, but the understanding is there should be one coming early in February. So the good news is the 15-step process that the Senator laid out for us at our last meeting has started. So we'll be checking in with them, as often as we have to check on that. In addition, I've met with Representative Fluker Oakley and Representative Driscoll to also make them aware of this being filed. up at the State House, so they're aware of it going forward and they're fully supportive of it. So, you know, in regards, we did also receive, I think the last time we met, we didn't have the finals on the appraisals. So the appraisals have all been done. So, you know, definitely more valuation was found going into conservation than it was coming out. So that's one of the things I believe EEA looks for. So that was good news to hear that also. So kind of in general, that's kind of our update on the land swap. Just open it up and see if anybody has any questions or comments or anything like that.
Great news, and thank you for having those meetings. We'll push that forward.
Oh, Aqua's the hand raised.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Thanks for
worries.
watching. I had my email up. Yeah, sorry about
Thank you.
that.
No problems. The final valuations, do we have the report? Can members of the committee see what that came out to?
Yeah, so I'll forward it over to everybody from the committee. It was just basically a town document. It wasn't really anything that was at the school building committee, but I'll forward it over. I just need to check with the town administrator.
Oh, okay, and if you cannot distribute it, just where we can locate it as we speak to folks who represent would may be helpful to show them.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like 95% sure I'll be able to share it. I don't know at this immediate moment. Otherwise, I just pull it up.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? I thought
We'll formalize an invite for these guys for tomorrow. That's about it, right?
Right, yeah, and then once we find out the time, we'll send them out to both Arrow Street and to RDA.
All right, so that will be basically formed as our next committee meeting too, which is about it'll be 2 weeks away. Going forward, kind of after that, once we get an architect on board, you know, I think it would be good for us to kind of set, you know, just for, I know we've been talking about it for the past couple of months, mainly because we haven't been able to do it because onboarding the OPM or onboarding an architect and stuff, it's been a little fluid with meeting times and stuff like that. But just setting a standard meeting, whether it's every other week or something like that, just for people's calendars, so it's a lot easier, I think would be helpful. So, you know, I think that's item, sorry about that.
And 6.
Item 6A. So I don't know if you want to discuss it now for, you know, is it every other Monday night? Do we want to go on a 3-week turnaround or something like that? It's just more, once we get an architect on board, you know, I think they're going to need a lot of push at the beginning to really get them going, and more of us just download, you know, some of the stuff we're looking for some of this too.
So should it start more at the every 2 weeks frequency and then figure out from there?
So you go every other
Every
week.
other, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
until we kind of get to a good.
Kind of feel like,
Yep.
you know, we have a rhythm and then if we need to.
Yeah, and I'm fine with, you know, every other week, you know, if we want to aim for, because it will probably take, so that would mean our next meeting after we do the selection would be Monday, the 19th. Is that school vacation week?
It is.
Yes.
Saying
I
that, I'll
can
be out
tell
of
you that I
town.
will miss that.
Yep.
I'll be out of town.
So I think so then, yeah, this always happens every time we try to get a scheduled set of meetings. What I,
Kids on 2 different vacation schedules.
Oh, geez.
just buy them
One
a
kid
ticket and
goes 2
send them
weeks in
on.
March, one kid does February.
Nice.
So it's crazy.
But what I would propose then is, I think having, before we even onboard the architect, having a meeting as like a brainstorming session for, you know, their first meeting when they come in. So we all walk in with, you know, here are the things for the school that we want. Here's, you know, kind of direction to them. So I would be open to meeting on the 12th and then the 26th, and knowing the 26th might be that first meeting with the architect.
That actually works out, right?
if it's good for you guys. I'm just,
I'm just thinking time with the architect, that seems to make sense.
yeah, because after this, we have to push.
We get an extra week off before we really get going.
Correct. Yeah, it just I'd like to have one meeting before they're sitting in the room with us, just for us to kind of really brainstorm, what we're looking at for this project. There's probably specific things that everybody kind of holds near and dear that they want to see on the project, which is great. And then, just get all that stuff out there, organize it a little bit, and then, we're ready to kind of walk them through some of our stuff for the project.
You already know what I want.
Might be good to ask them what they recommend for a kickoff meeting, or I don't know what you guys recommend for a kickoff meeting. I would think the school committee should be involved early on as well. They know you guys are on that. You know a lot more about the schools than we do. So as far as programming goes, I think they'll have a bigger impact than we will.
Yep.
Just to throw it out, not specific to this, we're talking about, like, I think we rely on OPMs too, to kind of guide us to which people should be involved with certain meetings. I think get excited on, let's invite all the teachers, and what you end up with is way too many ideas where there's just no way to kind of make everyone happy and keep it all organized. So just throwing that out there.
Yep. So what may be good, and this is one that will come out of superintendent. Mark, it's a working group that of not every teacher in the district, but specific ones there for this new school that have
That's
this.
exactly what you want.
Yeah, so maybe we invite them to come on the 12th too, and have kind of a brainstorming session, if that works.
Chance was the architect contract in the SRQ.
Yeah, the sample contract. Yeah, it was just a clean one. It was an MSBA contract that was just cleaned up from all the MSBA language. So I know we'll have to get that obviously reviewed,
With Nick.
Finalized.
yeah, so that typically like roughly a 2-week process. So a kickoff meeting on the 26th would work,
Okay.
or should work.
And even if it doesn't, we can just, hold another meeting too.
But we should, it sounds like we're gonna hold 6th or the 9th for the interviews, then the 12th for a brainstorming session.
6th or the 8th.
6th to the 8th, yeah. Then the 12th for a brainstorming session, and then the 26th for the kickoff meeting.
Yep. All right. Any other questions on future meetings or anything like that? I think we're scheduled out now through February, which is good. Hearing no others, last thing on our agenda, item 7, is essentially adjournment. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Go by roll call vote. Scott Tereschek.
Second, or do you did it?
So moved, yeah.
Okay.
Got it. So that's the second.
Yes.
Yes. Tim Lombard,
Yes.
Glenn Hoffman.
Yes.
Dr. Miranda.
Yes.
Mark Loring.
Yes.
Akroy Baum.
Yes.
Sean O'Rourke. Yes. Thank you very much. Have a good night.